Donald Trump has used his phony populism to divide Americans and to demonize immigrants. He uses phony populism to distract from the fact that he has used the White House to enrich billionaires like himself. Because real populism is not racist, real populism is not anti-Semitic, real populists don't engage in hate speech and don't rip babies from families at the border.
Okay, that was Ohio Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown flirting with the idea of a presidential run at his 2020 listening party last night. Brown now joining a pool of potential contenders who either say they're running or are still toying with the idea. I want to bring back my panel. Joe, Senator Brown is going to Iowa today, not by accident. And next week, he's expected to make stops in key states, primary states, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. What is the path for someone like him to the nomination? There's a lot of people in the field right now.
You got all of those Ohio boys. I think Sherrod, I think Timmy Ryan as well. They just bring something unique to the table. They survive in red states, particularly Sherrod Brown, who runs as a deep blue senator in a deeply red state. This isn't a purple state, Ohio. So that has to have some appeal, that labor left that he brings to the table. And Sherrod has had a long history, both in the House and the Senate. He's got a lot of experience. I think that's what he brings, I think, to the table.
Do you think because the field is so crowded, it could actually help in finding a unifying message? An argument was that Democrats cleared the field so much for Hillary Clinton that maybe they didn't have a chance to hear all of the voices, the uprising. And now, could all these voices help us find a mean?
I think it will. I think I'm not afraid of any of the debate.
And by us, I mean the universal us, not me included.
Or myself.
Yes.
But I do think that this opportunity to have this debate, get those issues out there, vet them, talk about them. I think that's what frustrated many Democrats in the past, is that they weren't even talking to their issues or their needs. And I think that's what you're going to see in this multi-candidate field.
Michael, what is the unifying message for Republicans? We talk so much about the fact that Democrats, well, they got people on the far left, and what are they going to do with centrists? Couldn't we say the same to Republicans?
I think that unifying message for Republicans in its current state right now is one word: Trump. And that seems to be the go-to. They look across the aisle. They don't see any real competition to the president. You've got internal structures now being tightened down and restricted to really prevent anyone from coming into the Republican primary process, at least as much as possible. So it's all hands on deck, sort of building the wall, if you will, around the president going into the cycle. Go back to the 2016 primary and general election. There was no cohesive, coherent message from Republicans. And it was all about the hot rhetoric that Trump was putting out there about immigrants, on racial issues, et cetera. So I can see that playbook being updated a little bit going into this cycle, particularly if you've got some of the leading progressive candidates who really kind of are holding sway right now, change the dynamics of the conversation on the left such that it's just easy to throw bromides at them all day long as opposed to discussing the substance of policy.
Then for everyone who's going after the Howard Schultz or Mike Bloomberg, when you lay it out like that, or when Michael does, Joe, doesn't that leave a huge amount of room in the middle? Because President Trump didn't pivot. And people said, well, once he's elected, those centrist Republicans, they'll be happy and the economy is going to be going so well. Well, if the economy doesn't, if the market stays where it is, all of those centrists in the middle, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, that kind of sounds like there's a lot of them.
Oh, I think there is. I think it's also reflective of this last election. I think a lot of
the midterms, you mean?
Yeah, the midterms. A lot has been made of the new faces to the House Democratic caucus. But what it's important to keep in mind is how we won the House representatives back. We didn't win the House back by winning seats in New York City or Boston or other major metropolises. We won them by winning seats in Middle America and appealing to moderate voters. Seats that were held by Republicans that Democrats took back. Former, Navy pilots, women that have graduated.
Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey.
Mikey Sherrill's a great example. There's so many of them that added to that might and that strength in this 2016 election. I think we're going to take that into, the 2018 election. We're going to take that into the 2020 elections in a very strong way.
Michael Steele, that's an excellent point. If you tuned into Fox News at night, Sean Hannity would have you believe that every Democratic candidate is a super progressive. But if you actually look, and listen, we know how loud that noise is on the very progressive side, but if you look at who won, it was moderates chugging along.
That's such an excellent point, and it's something that a lot of people overlooked or just didn't pay attention to in this last election. You look at that Democratic class, everyone focuses on the Ocasio-Cortezes and folks like that. But that class is a center-right class. It's a centrist class in a lot of issues and a little bit conservative on some of the economic stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see, again, how progressives pull the argument back as far as they would like to when you're looking at the folks who are getting, to the congressman's point, elected in the middle of the country. That is not the message that's electing those Democrats in the middle of the country.
All right, yesterday, Mitch McConnell emerged from his turtle shell, and he made some comments that, no surprise, set social media afire about a bill that would make Election Day a federal holiday for federal workers. I want to share it because, to me, I barely blinked. I was wrong.
This is the Democrat plan to restore democracy? A brand new week of paid vacation for every federal employee who'd like to hover around while you cast your ballot? A power grab that's smelling more and more like exactly what it is.
A power grab, really?
You know, it's how he sees the world, democracy at work, giving people the opportunity to actually go and vote. You know, people work for a living in my district. Election day, they don't get off to go to vote on Election day. Here's an opportunity. I think one of the worst things about our electoral process right now is turnout. People aren't coming out to vote, either in primaries and really in general election over the country. This is an opportunity to give them that chance to have the day off and treat it like a national holiday, and encourage people to participate in our civic duty, and that is to vote and elect our next leadership.
Michael, I'm naive. Wouldn't this be seen as a good...
Yeah, well, look, you know, this is not the goal here. You know, I want you to vote as long as you're voting the way I want you to vote. And the parties have for a long time been in the game of turning out their vote. When you talk about turning out the vote, they don't want your voters to turn out. They want their voters to turn out. And that is one of the concerns that a lot of folks inside the party have had when it comes to these types of proposals. Now, as national chairman, I took a close look at this and was advocating some changes that got me into a lot of trouble. I strongly believe voting should be a national holiday. And if you don't like a national holiday because it's going to cost too much money after we've already spent $2 trillion to increase the national debt, but we'll set that aside, then have voting over the weekend. Have voting take place from Saturday to Sunday. Give people the greatest opportunity to go vote. Oh, and let's move it from the fall, when it's dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and move it to the spring or summer so that you can get more participation. My point is, there are a lot of ways in which we can engage on this subject that goes to the congressman's point, and that is to open up this process so every citizen can exercise the franchise.
It's one of the greatest parts about being American.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.